We're on page 65 in lessons in Mamorim, in that Mitzvosecha Mamar Viduy. So what we learned is that there's the world of Atzilus. In the world of Atzilus, we have the 10 spheres, and from there the other worlds evolve. And then there's Keser, which is higher than the world of Atzilus. And in Keser itself, there are two levels. Both are considered Makif, which means it's the infinite light of Hashem. But one of them is infinite and totally removed from the finite realm, and the other one is closer to the finite realm, as we explained that this is sort of a bridge between the infinite and the finite. So after we explained the two levels of Keser, now on page 65, he continues. From this level, which is called Arech Hampin, which is the lower level of Keser, that becomes the source of Abba V'Ima, which was father and mother, but that's really Chokhmah and Bina. In Kabbalah, it speaks in that language, that metaphoric language. Chokhmah is called Abba, and Bina is called the mother. And then from there, which is the intellectual realm. From the intellectual realm, then that light of Hashem flows and evolves lower to Zor, Ze'er Ampin, which is Nukva. That's the emotional aspects of Atzilus, the 6 or 7 emotional attributes. The Neida Mavur Gamkein was also explained, Sheikar Esig HaMitzvahs, Shemin Machi Varim the Malko, that when a person observes mitzvahs, and we said through the mitzvahs, we sort of draw down the light from the 4 letters of Hashem's name into the 4 letters of Hashem's name. So primarily this is in Zoh, Zeir Ampin. In other words, through mitzvahs, Lahamshich Ha'aras Ein Sof, we draw down a ray of light from Ein Sof, from Hashem's infinite light, Adiyah Keser, through the medium of Keser, as we said that this is like the bridge, and is brought down in the world of Atzilus, and in Atzilus mainly Zoh, which is the emotional realm. So, like when a person does a sin, commits a sin, that light that was drawn down in a specific organ again, metaphorically speaking, that light is unfortunately taken away. So that means that now there's something in the spiritual realm that's sort of deficient. Just like Begashmias, if a certain energy which normally is found in any of the organs of the body is no longer there, then that organ can't function properly. That's number one. Number two, another negative thing that comes as a result is nimshad min ha'eva yinika l'chitzeinim. Now that there's this deficiency, this organ can also become a source where the klippas will nurture from the light of Hashem that was in there. As he explained before, that this is the hidden meaning to the words in the Chumash, where it says Nekiv Shem Havai, it's as if he's making a hole, puncturing. And he gave the analogy that it's like a person who, Chas v'shalom, cuts himself, and as a result of that, blood flows, and that can cause all sorts of negative things. Spiritually, it means that the light of Hashem is now open, it's not protected, and therefore klippas can come and they could nurture on that light of Hashem. That's all a result of the Avera that I did. So hatikunu, spiritually, how can we correct that spiritual damage? Now he's going to explain, and when you draw down the light from Keser, when the infinite light, when Keser are two parts, both parts are effective. One does one thing and one does the other thing. Now he's going to explain what the two parts of Keser do, which is different one from the other. The hiding is meaning the parts of Atik Yemen, from the one that's higher, which we said before, it's higher, but it's the lower realm of the absolute infinite. This light shines as an encompassing light, and it's light which is infinite. So there's a principle, hamakif masame that the encompassing light is so powerful that it blinds the eyes of these external forces, which means that in the presence of such a light, they become inactive. They can't do anything. They're actually destroyed. They can't get any more nurture from this place. We said before, when there's a blemish and there's something deficient, that allows the klipas to nurture from it because there's something, it's not protected now. So when this light shines, it's a light that blinds the klipas, and they can't get near and can't do anything, and they can't benefit from what the person did. And that's one thing accomplished. What about the second thing? That there's a place in the spiritual realm that's now deficient because I didn't draw down the light. So the second thing comes from the lower part of Kesed. Parts of Arach Ampin. When we draw down the light from Arach Ampin, Sherish and Etzolim, that's the one that's closer and the root of the worlds. This causes all these deficiencies, and whatever was defected should be filled and should be repaired. Like we said before, like a river that becomes dry, that you have to dig deeper, and that'll draw new supply of water in this river and this well. Here too, now that we're drawing down from a higher level, so whatever was deficient, whatever was lacking, whatever was missing is now going to be filled up. Now we can understand the original question, why when it comes to Teshuva it says, Anechi, Anechi, I am the one that is going to erase your sin. Why did it say twice? And the answer is because Anechi specifically alludes to Keser, and being that there are these two realms in Keser, it says Anechi twice. Each one sort of contributes towards the process of complete Teshuva. So again, this is something which is explained in other places, that every name of Hashem alludes to a specific spiritual aspect. So the name of Hashem, which has the four letters Yud Kei Vav Kei, we learned earlier that describes all the 10 spheres. The word Anechi is higher than the name of the four letters. First of all, just the definition. The four letters Yud Kei Vav Kei is describing something, but Anechi means I. It's like in a person. Have intellect, have emotion, have different talents, different qualities, different faculties. But when I say I, that's sort of the essence, the core. That's higher than everything else. But Hashem says Anechi, I, that's higher than this name, higher than that name, higher than all the names, is the essence of Hashem. In fact, when Hashem gave the Torah, the 10 Commandments, Aseres HaDibros, the first word was Anechi. I, Hashem, took you out of Mitzrayim. But again, the word Anechi. And that's why there's a question there. Why would then the word Anechi be written twice? So the answer is because on this level, which is higher than the Spheros, which is Keser, there are two aspects. And both of them contribute to the process, like I said before. One of them blinds the eyes of the klipas. They can no longer in the future get any chayas. And the other one, the lower one, what does that accomplish? To fill up all the gaps and to repair all the damage. So when a person says, I do tshuva, but what about all the things that I missed out on doing? So the answer is, when a person does proper tshuva, that light that shines will make up for all the things that we're missing, and there'll no longer be anything missing, not in the spiritual realm and not in my neshama. Now to explain this a little bit further, the next line, again, we're on page 67, the middle of the page, where it says, Ki tshuva pirushe bazohar toshuv kei. The Zohar says that the word tshuva is made up of two words, tashuv, hey. Which means, the way the Zohar explains it, that Hashem has the four letters in his name. The last letter is the hey, and that hey is sort of the source of our neshama. When a person does an avera, like we said before, we end up nurturing klipa. So in the language of the Zohar, we're taking the hey of Hashem's name, which is part of his name, and we're drawing that down to a place of impurity. When a person does tshuva, the hey goes back to its original source to become part of Hashem's full name. It's extracted from this place of impurity, and it reconnects to its original place. So that's why tshuva, according to Kabbalah, reads as tashuv hey. By doing tshuva, the hey returns to its source, which in different terms, in different words, mean that the letters of Hashem's name are now complete, not deficient. So the word milui is one of the terms in the list that you'll be seeing. And milui means, literally it means full or filled up. So that's something like I showed you on the chart the other day, that every letter of the Aleph Beis is just a single letter in itself. Aleph, Beis, Gimel, Dalet. Milui means when you spell out the letter, then there's more letters there. So let's say the letter Aleph would be spelled Aleph, Lamed, Bey. That was spelled Aleph. Beis would be spelled Beis, Yud, Sod. And then, by the way, the gematria changes. Beis, what's the gematria of Beis? 2. But when you spell out the Beis, it's 412. That's called Milut. So the same thing with the Hey of Hashem's name. When you spell out Hey, how do you spell it? Hey Yud. It's one of the ways of spelling the letter Hey. Pirush Tashav Hey Imilu Yud. So what does it mean? That the Hey returns with that Yud. In general, they're saying that these letters, again, I don't think it's necessary to go into now what the origin for that is, but it basically alludes to Bina. What's Bina? There's Beinin Begdulas Hashem. It gives us the strength to meditate. Bina means to understand, to meditate and understand the greatness of Hashem, Visifarta, and His glory. Well, the Hoylid Mizeh, and this should generate a feeling of tzaka v'charata b'leiv, that a person regrets in his heart. Ma'asav harashena, whatever I did before that was wrong. This called chefte v'yishe v'skarav l'Hashem. So he feels broken, feels regret that he distanced himself from Hashem, and now all he wants is to come closer and be embraced by Hashem. That's the hey. So this goes back to what we mentioned before, that the 4 letters in Hashem's name, they all correspond to the 10 spheros. The Yud is the Chokhmah, and the Hey usually represents the Bina. Your Chokhmah and Bina, these are 2 faculties of both of the brain, but the difference is that Chokhmah is sort of the source of the intellect, the essence of the concept, the core, the nucleus of the concept, and Bina is thinking into it in detail. So when you have both things, the Yud and the Hey, Chinas Chochma, Talmudus Leib, Mekerev Leib Amik, then basically say this, these are the two things of Abba and Ima. This is in Kabbalah, father and mother. I mean, you might be familiar with this from Tanya. The Alter Rebbe says that intellect gives birth to emotion. Just like parents give birth to children, intellect gives birth to emotion. That's why in Kabbalah, Chochma and Bina are called the parents. And the emotional aspects are called the children. Chochma is called the father, Bina is called the mother. Zah, the sixth spheres, is called the son, and Malchus is called the daughter. So the details are also fascinating, how there's a parallel drawn between a father and Chochma, and a mother and Bina, and the son and Zah, and the daughter and Malchus. That's the discussion. It's not really the point here, so we're just going to go off on a tangent. We'll leave this for some other time. We know also that Abba, Mila, Chochma, and Bina, they're related to the two names of Hashem, Ma'uban. Remember the other day I gave you a list, a chart, which showed you that there are four names of Hashem. Two of them are Ma and Ban. Generally speaking, Ma is related to Chochma, and Ban is related to Bina. Again, another thing which maybe will help you see a little bit more clearly is Ma is the gematria of the word Adam. Adam means a man, person, a human being. Ban is the gematria of the word behema, which means an animal. So generally speaking, within a person, that's the godly soul and the animal soul. Ma is more related to the godly soul, and the name Ban is more related to the animal soul. And when we talk about the godly soul itself, then Ma is more related to Chochma, and Ban is more related to Bina. And they all come from Atik Yemen. And then there's Ma Ban on a higher level, all the way up to a place, Adam Kadmon. These two words are also a term of Hasidus. I mean, I've even touched on it, but it's a term that's in the Zohar, Adam Kadmon. Adam Kadmon is really the Aramaic translation of Adam Arisha, the first man that lived on earth. But this is not talking about man that's on earth. It's talking about a level in the spiritual realm. And even though we just finished explaining how Keser is infinite, and there's more infinite and more infinite, there's another level which is off the chart, and that's called Adam Kadmon. That's on top of the paper, you can't see it. That's even higher. And that's the source of everything. And what he's saying is, ultimately, that's where the neshama comes from, and the different parts about the neshama, the yud and the hey and everything. So like Deizeh Ma'iriv Chinas is Galus Anechi Aniska Le'el Ma'aban Datagay. So being that we have that in our neshama, the connection to these spheres, and these names of Hashem are invested in us, it gives us it enables us, that empowers us, that when we do tshuva, we can draw down the two letters of the two names of Hashem, Ma'uban, from Keser, the Sakin Kolabgamik Majmor, and that is what repairs all the blemishes. I know this was a little bit Kabbalistic, so let's not go into the details, just the general idea that in order to draw down the power to correct all the damage and to not allow Klippa to get any more nourishment and to fill all the gap that everything that I missed out in the past gets filled up as if it was never missing, that has to come from a place where there's an infinite light. And what he's explaining is that we in our neshama have a connection to all those levels, and therefore when we do tshuva, we can draw that down. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the power to do that. You still have your reference books with you? This should be excellent. So now he's going to explain another thing about Shuvah, and then in the booklet, it's on page 79. Thank you. There's a few if anyone needs. So this is a pasuk from Parshas Netzavim, which is actually the parsha we're going to be reading next week. And if you look at the top of the page, it says, "For a mitzvah hazos, this mitzvah, asher nechi mitzav chayim, that I'm commanding you today, lo neflesihi, it's not far from you. The lo rechokahi, it's not distant from you. Lo b'shamayim, it's not on the heavens." That you would say, how can we go up to the heaven to get it? Or to do it? The Torah is not at the other end of the sea or the ocean, that we should say, how can we go over the sea in order to get it, in order to hear Torah? And by the way, this is the pasuk that the whole Tanya is based on. The truth is, Ki korev elecha hadavar ma'od, this is really very close to you. And it goes on that these are the words. This pasuk, number 14, is the words which contain in it the whole Tanya. So now he's going to explain how this relates to Teshuva. That ki mitzvah says this mitzvah that's close to you is referring to Teshuva. The mitzvah Teshuva. Basically, like many things in the Chumash, there are different commentary. So generally speaking, it looks like it's not talking about Teshuva, it's talking about Torah in general. But you see in the note on the bottom, it says that Ramban explained how it's referring to Teshuva. That being that Teshuva comes from Anochi B'chinas Keser, why does the Torah have to tell us it's close to you? Because Teshuva, we just now explained, in order for the Teshuva to be complete, you have to draw down a light from Keser. Mashaking Shar mitzvahs, Nekrois mitzvahs Havaya. So again, look at these words in the pasuk, and I can look in the Sefer. Ki mitzvah zes asher anochi, I, the word anochi again. So remember we said in the beginning of the Maimer, all the mitzvahs are called mitzvahs Havaya, mitzvahs of Hashem using the 4 letters. But Teshuva is called anochi, it comes from anochi, which is exactly what was explained in the Maimer, that all the mitzvahs are rooted in the 4 letters of Hashem. Teshuva is different. Teshuva is rooted in the place which is higher than the 4 letters of Hashem, in the place, in the realm which is infinite, which is Keser. And that has the power to be drawn down and to compensate and fill up all the gaps that might be missing in the mitzvahs, in the 4 letters of Hashem's name. And therefore it says, it's not beyond you, it's not distant from you. It's not distant from you. Why is he saying this? So he explains. Ki be'emes, in truth, this level which we're talking about, Atik Yemen, is really the most supreme wonder that exists in the spiritual realm. You know, it reminds me of what the Rebbe Rashab once said, that there are people who are very big thinkers and they study a lot of Chassidus, and to them, Atzilus is just one of a regular station, because there's Keser and there's levels in Keser, and then there's, we just said Odin Kadman higher than Keser, and then we learn about something which is called Tzimtzum, and before the Tzimtzum, so Atzilus is like one of those. So the Rebbe Rashab spoke about it like, you know, you're forgetting what you're talking about. The Alter Rebbe, when he wrote the word Atzilus, when he wrote it, his hands began to shake. He could not finish writing the word Atzilus. So too, when we say the word Atik, oh, Atik here, Atik there, Atik is Keser, is infinite. So he's saying it's so far from us. This is something which is so hidden. Lois Yada, it's above knowledge, it's something which is inconceivable, because this is the encompassing light, the infinite light. That's the one which is called Atik. And the other one which is called Arachampin, Urachik Matzilus. It's also very far from Atzilus. Like it says, Amati Chachma v'Rechoy Kamimeni. I said that Chachma is very far from me, referring to this. If you remember, I showed you in the map that Chochmah Batzilus, which is the highest level of the highest world, is infinitely distant from Keser, which is just one stop, but it's not just one stop. It's a transition from infinite to finite. That transition is much greater, that jump is much bigger than from Chochmah Batzilus, the highest finite, to the lowest finite, a rock here on earth. So therefore, it's very far from us. And that's, in a sense, what the pasuk is alluding to, that you might think it's over the sea, it's at the other end of the world, and you have to go up to the Shamayim, meaning it's so far, how can we draw that down? That's why I use the term beyond the sea, because Chachma is also something which is represented by water or the sea. If he said, we don't have to go up to the heavens to bring it down. The heavens in this context is referring to this level of Atik, because it's the encompassing life. And when it says we don't have to go to the other end of the sea, that's alluding to the lower level, Arachampen, which is the sea, which is water, which is Chochmah. Being that drawing down these lights, that's what you need in order to complete the process of tshuva. Page 71. This is something very difficult. How in the world can we possibly think that we could draw down these lights that are so truly wondrous and distant? They're even above the world of Atzilus. How can we possibly even think that we can draw that down? And that's why he says, no, it's not beyond you. It's not far from you. Why? From you specifically. We have no idea where the true source of our soul is. The true source of our soul is even higher than all these worlds, and even higher than the Kesser. It's from a level called Adam Kadma. Adam Kadma means the first collective person, just like Adam Rishon on earth is the source of all the humans that followed in history. Adam Kadmon is a level in the spiritual realm that's the source of all the spiritual worlds, even the source of Kesser. And that's where we come from. So therefore, this includes Atik Yemen, Arachampin, Atzilus, Bria, Yitzira, Asiya, all these spheres are all included as one in this level, which is called Atik Yemen. And our neshama comes from there. And therefore, because we have that connection, that's why it will be easy for us to draw down this light. And that's why we're given 613 mitzvahs. The mitzvahs represent that there are different spiritual qualities. Esrik and Lulav is one thing. We draw down one kind of light. Shabbos is drawing down another kind of light. In Shabbos itself, there's the mail of Friday night, and there's the mail of Shabbos day, and there's the mail. If you look in the Siddur, maybe now you'll recognize the words. You'll see that Shabbos night, it says, that's Kiddush that corresponds to Chakal Tapuchim, which is literally the holy apple orchard. But this is in Zohar, it's an analogy, and it alludes to the sphere of Malchus. Shachris is related to Atik Kadisha, which is Atik. So basically, there are different kind of aspects in the spiritual realm, and because the spiritual realm, as it comes down, gets broken down into more detail. And that's why we know as a rule that one angel can do two different missions. Every angel is designated to do something specific, and when he's in one mode, he can switch to another mode. Because an angel is a specific individual creation of Hashem. But humans, our soul originates in this place, which is a collective light that includes all the details. Let us make man, using the plural, which means that in the level where our neshama comes from, everything is included there. Everything which evolves later, all the worlds, and all is included in Adam Kadmon, and that's where my neshama comes from. So being that we have access to that level, okay, nitnolano, in other words, look at this, a malach, he can only do one thing at a time. I don't know if anyone knows where we know this from in Chumash. The story in Chumash, pretty much in the beginning, with Avram Avinu, the three angels came. Why were the three? One was there to heal Sarah, that she should have a baby. One was to heal Avram, because he was sick from the circumcision. One was to bless Sarah, that she should have a baby, and the third one was to destroy Sodom. So what do you need three angels for? Send one angel and do all three things. They got wings, they'll fly from here to there. So the answer is because an angel can only do one mission at a time. And being here, there were three missions, you needed three angels. So then how can Hashem give us 613 missions? If an angel can only have one, how can we only have 313? So this is the answer, because the angel, of course angels are much higher than humans, but the source of our neshama is higher than the source of the neshama of angels. So angels come from a place in the spiritual realm, which is a specific area. So therefore, they're also limited and restricted. They can only function in a specific area. The neshama comes from a place which is called Adam Kadmon, and that's the collective source, which includes everything that's going to follow in creation. So therefore, we can relate to all 630 mitzvahs, all the details in the world. And that's why the Torah says, this mitzvah of Teshuva is not beyond you, because for you, meaning you, that you have this unique neshama, it's very easy for you to draw down that light. Very often when a mimer or anything finishes up with these two words, it means there's much more that we can elaborate on, but this will be enough for those who have understanding. You can hardly understand what it says until here, but so I think on this sheet, which we're going to review now with the questions, which I did not put in that question, which I usually do, put in, which is what's the main point of this chapter? The answer here would be, just so it should be clear, in Chassidus, every chapter and every line is so rich with information that very often you forget that this is supposed to be one continuation. It's supposed to flow. One is the structure here. It's not just one piece, another piece. It's like even Tanya, which is 53 chapters. When you study one chapter, there's so much to learn about. But really, there's a flow from the beginning until chapter 53, where these are building blocks. One builds to the other and leads to the other. So it's very important when you finish learning a chapter in a Tanya, or finish learning a chapter in a Mimer, to, in my own mind, in my own words, try to find how would I describe this? What is the main point here? And how does this lead me into the next chapter? So this follows the previous chapter. The previous chapter explained how Teshuva needs to have both the verbal confession and the regret. That by doing that, we destroyed the body of the klipa and the soul of the klipa. Now, in this chapter, he explains the next part of Teshuva. How do we accomplish that whatever was missing gets filled up? And how do we accomplish that in the future, the klippas could no longer nurture from the damage that I've done, from this sort of the fact that I caused a deficiency and I broke something, and now they can nurture from it. It's like breaking down the door. If a house is a house that has gold and silver and money and precious things, and the door is broken, now anybody can come in and take whatever they want. So if I do something which does damage in the spiritual realm, I'm allowing Klippa to come and grab whatever they want. So the answer is, in this chapter, that it comes from the two levels in Keser. So the higher level of Keser, it blinds the Klippas that it can no longer have any sustenance. And from the lower level of klipa, it fills up all the gaps. A lower level of keser, it fills up all the gaps. Really, I should repeat what I said even shorter because I can't make it complicated. What? You want to say something? No, you want to think something? Yeah. Right. So we said that one of the things he explained in this chapter is that in Keser, there are two parts. There's the higher part of Keser, which means it's closer. Keser is infinite, but it's closer to the ultimate infinite. And the lower part of Keser is closer to the four worlds. The higher part of Keser is called Atik, and the lower part of Keser is called Arich. I did some art to make a little thing. I don't know if I have any more extra copies left of it. But basically what he explained was that the higher part of Keser, that's the part that blinds the eyes of the klipas that can no longer, and when I do tshuva, I draw down from that level. That's amazing. And the lower part of Keser, when I draw that down, that fills in all the gaps, that all the letters of Hashem are now repaired and perfect and complete. And therefore, even the fact that something happened in the past is deleted because now everything is filled up. Yeah. The letters in Hashem's name, and in other words, the letters represent different levels. But one of the points were that mitzvahs are called mitzvahs havaya, the mitzvahs of Hashem, and that means that all the mitzvahs are connected to the four letters of Hashem. One of the sheets that I gave out in the beginning was to show how basically there's this infinite light. The infinite light, let me see if I still have something there. Yeah. This is one. And the infinite light gets broken down into the four letters of Hashem. The four letters of Hashem get broken down to 10 spheros. And from the 10 spheros, it breaks down and branches out to 613 mitzvahs. Yeah.
You talked about how when you do tshuva, it's almost as if you like get to a higher place than if like about tshuva stands higher than a tzaddik. How does it work if a tzaddik, if they don't ever do anything wrong, then they have nothing to repair, but if tshuva, all it's doing is repairing it. Is it bringing it to a higher place to repair, or just?
Right, tzaddik you're saying?
I'm saying, how does tshuva, how is that better than being a person tzaddik? Like, how is that making more connection to Hashem?
Well, one of the things which you just said, that when a person does tshuva, they're drawing down from Kesser. The tzaddik is doing Torah mitzvahs. He's basically working with the 10 letters of Hashem's name.
And he never goes above.
Right, generally speaking, doesn't go above that. And about tshuva, when he does tshuva,
Okay.
tshuva is a mitzvah that's connected to Anechi, so that reaches into the higher level. Okay. So don't worry if you don't get all those Kabbalistic terms straight, the details, it's a little bit hard to do that. And as you learn more and more, become more familiar with the terms, just like any language. So eventually it'll all fall into place as long as you get the main idea of what it's bringing out. So let's go over the terms and the questions. So first we'll go to the questions. That's where it says base. You had this, Nadia? What? You listen, okay. We have plenty of copies, huh? So the first question is, does tshuva only bring forgiveness, or it also repairs the spiritual damage caused by the Avera? So that's the main point here. No, it also repairs the spiritual damage done by the Avera. Then is number two, what does the light from Atik Yemen accomplish in the process of tshuva? And number three is, what does the light of Aruch Anpin accomplish in the process of tshuva? So what we just explained was, the answer to number two is, it blinds the light the eyes of the klippa. They could no longer get a nurture from a place of kedusha, because when this light shines, it blinds them. It disables them basically. Number 3, what does the light from Arach Ampin accomplish in the process of tshuva? That fills up all the gaps, everything that's missing in the 4 letters of Hashem's name. Okay? I'm just doing this so it becomes clear. What is the difference between the spiritual source of all mitzvahs and the spiritual source of tshuva? Yeah.
Further from Havaya versus Tshuva coming up.
Right. All the mitzvahs come from Havaya, which is Yud Kei Vav Kei, Hashem's name with the 4 letters. And tshuva comes from the name of Hashem, which is Anochi, I. Number 5, how do we have the power to draw down Hashem's light from such a high place? So the answer is because our neshama comes from an even higher place. And that higher place is called Adam Kadma. And because of that, we are capable of drawing down from such a high place. Number 6, why is it that malachim, angels, can only have 1 shlichus at a time, and we were given 613 missions? Because we're higher. But not just the word. Right, but specifically, an angel comes from a specific area, specific aspect in the spiritual realm. Our neshama comes from this level called Adam Kadmon, and that's something which is collective and inclusive. It includes everything. And because it includes everything, therefore we can live a life down here that's going to have a mission which includes everything. Yeah.
So the Malachim, they're only from the 4 worlds?
Yeah.
It's talking about to be wrong.
Right.
No angels go above. These was from above.
Generally speaking, the angels go up to the world of Bria, not even Atzilus. So there are exceptions of angels in Atzilus. But again, on one hand, an angel is, oh boy, it's 9:15 already. Sorry. We'll have to leave the angels for tomorrow. Sorry. Yeah.